Okay. Hey, party people. Welcome back to Critical Conversations. I am your host, Karissa Dean, and today I have guest Mia Gray here, and Mia and I geek out all the time on all things spiritual and woo. Mia is a magical oracle. She has literally helped me transmute so many different emotions, and what we're going to talk about today is why it's so vital for you to be where you're at, feel what you feel. And we're going to kind of debunk the funk. We're going to debunk the funk around manifestation, like this buzzword that we're all seeing and hearing and reading. And we're really going to break into why it doesn't work for most people and the methodologies that Mia and I have kind of been utilizing, and it's magical what's coming out of it from my own personal life. And I know Mia has her own stories. So Mia, is there anything else in that bio introduction that I missed that you want to add on?
No, I don't think so. Well, actually, there is one thing. I am shifting my title. This is classic Mia. I'm shifting my title to doula.
Oh.
Just doula. I have had the opportunity to act as a doula as transitioning a very close friend of mine out of this life. And I have had a lot of experiences this summer with clients who are in big transition phases in their life, like bringing in a new baby or like starting a whole new chapter in another way, like with a relationship or with a job. And that's what and in all of these ways, I realized like that I am so here for that. Like I am here to walk beside people as they like transition in whatever way that may be, whether maybe you are bringing a baby into the world, like sign me up for all of that. And maybe you're dying, and maybe that we're transitioning out of life. So those very like literal transitions, but also anything and everything in between.
I love that. I love that. Bringing forth into the world.
Mm-hmm.
You heard it here first, folks. Okay, so talk to me about manifestation. You and I geek out on this all the time.
Yes.
There was a period of my life where I fucking hated that word because it never worked for me. It was always like, and I think that I was stuck for a very long period in my personal development journey because I was reading all the books. I was doing all the meditations. I was writing like Feel Free to Prosper, like where you write fucking 25 times this one sentence, for 2 fucking weeks, like I'm doing all this shit. And why is the thing that I want not coming? And it became very frustrating. And so when I say all of this, like what comes up for you?
Well, first I laugh because of how much stuff we were doing.
Right?
Like so much. We were working so hard. And I have this realization at least once a week. Like I'm still on the come down of like taking away this stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's like so clear to me now, although it was not clear to me at the time, that doing all of those things to get what I want is inherently saying, it's kind of like that, like when you point your finger this way, there's like 3 fingers pointing back at you. So it's like, if I am trying desperately, grabbing at anything I possibly can, any ritual, any practice, anyone else's ideas that will help me get what I want, then I am saying to myself, you cannot get what you want. I need this person's knowledge. I need this person's knowledge. I need this book. I need to do this ritual. I am not inherently worthy as I am. And we all are inherently worthy of exactly whatever we came here to do.
Yeah.
But this like idea of like manifestation and like very like Disney, like again, like I'm gonna write it a bunch of times and then it's gonna like walk through my door. And I say this like not to be an asshole, because I did all of like I lived it. I really believed it. I wanted it to be true.
Yeah.
Because I believe that I deserve to have what I want at the core of it.
Right.
But it really matters the energy of how you feel in your body about it. So it's like, am I doing this action because someone else told me that it will make me good enough to get this? Or am I doing this action because I know it's the next step to get me there? You know, as like, we're still doing something.
Yeah.
But it's a totally different vibe behind it. If that makes sense.
Exactly. 100%. I mean, I think that's the key, is that when I first entered the personal development world, it was like, you can have whatever you want. And you're just like, whoa, really? Okay, cool. But then you like, there's these very natural markers in your journey where you have to be in the feeling before it can be attracted to you. So like, I do believe in the law of attraction. I do believe in the methodologies of feel free to prosper, but there's this tiny key, and it's so unique to everyone else. And I think like my life really didn't start to unfold, right? The things that I wanted in my life, which were a really healthy, happy marriage, a better relationship with my child. I wanted to feel better about my relationship with my parents. Like there was some serious, deep-rooted healing and trauma that I was trying to bypass and just get to the good feeling. But like, you can't get there from where you currently sit. And a lot of these methodologies can work only if you don't bypass some of these really inherent, important nuances that exist. And I think that they're different for everyone, right?
Exactly. And the thing is that it's all specific to us. Like, I believe wholeheartedly that we are a soul and a mind and a body. And our soul, our higher self, whatever, you can use whatever words you want. I'm just going to use my verbiage because that's what feels good to me. But my soul knew what it was doing when it came here. I created a body. I created a exact technology that would give me all of the things that I would need while I was here. Not only that, I programmed memories and lessons from other lifetimes that I've lived into this technology, so that as I went through this life and had the experiences that I laid out for myself, those experiences would activate inside of me the memory, the emotion, the energy of that past life, that past lived experience. And then I could be activated into learning.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole point. And again, my perspective, right? So if that's the case, then I don't need to look to everyone else to figure out what I want. I need to know who the hell I am to remember why I'm here in the first place, to figure out what I'm supposed to be doing. And there's so much other information that is like crammed into us from the time we're born until now I'm in my mid-30s, that the deconditioning process, the stripping away of everyone else's opinions, thoughts, ideas, values, all of that has to happen before all of this manifestation work can happen, or laws of attraction, all of these energetic philosophies
modalities.
that we talk. Yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah.
100%.
And I think that, like, Ronan, I love that kid. He's fine. He's doing great.
I love you very much, and I appreciate your input.
Bye, Ronan. Bye. Have fun at Grammys.
You made it to 2:30. Congratulations. Don't forget your brother's treat. You got to sneak him into the bathroom.
Oh my God, I love
it. You. Okay.
Ronan is Mia's little boy, yes. And he is a magical being. He's very insightful. But I think, like, what you're or actually, I know what you're talking about is unlocking us, and that's exactly the key that was missing. Is that early in my personal development, and even I feel like just now recently I fucking get it. Like, I literally feel like I've just like yesterday have finally like, I am this year's old and I just fucking figured it out. Right. And I think that it's because I finally decided that I already knew. I already had all the answers. I already knew what my path was, and it wasn't going to work to do anything cookie cutter. And so this is where, like, I do experience some frustration within the coaching industry and within the personal development industry, because I think there's a lack of, responsibility that some people are taking, where we're just putting this information out there, but we're not saying there's a root cause that might be different for you. And so this path might actually be more frustrating, because I'm going to tell you how I did it, but I don't have the same trauma you do. So it might not work for you, and you might have more anger and frustration. And so I get really pissed and fired up, because I really want people to experience feeling better, and they can't do it if they're trying cookie cutter methodologies that don't work for them as their own unique individual. And this is where you and I agree so wholeheartedly about, like, who are you?
Right. And that's, like, the only thing that's important.
The only thing. And that's why I love working with you, and I love what you offer your clients, because you're not trying to be like, well, this person died this way, and this is how I recommend it. It's like, hey, babe, like, how do you want to die?
Right. And what
does that look like for you?
Exactly. And how, because anything else, anything that is not just who am I, gets into, like, value. So then we're placing, like, this is a good thing or this is a bad thing. Because if we're constantly under the impression that there's some part of us that needs fixing, then we don't believe that we're worthy of having what we desire. So it's like, oh, I messed up this again, or, oh, I said this to my kid again. I didn't want to. And then you're just, like, shaming and shitting on yourself, which is the worst possible energetic representation you could be for yourself. So it's like, who am I? Not like, so this is a list of things that I don't like about myself that I need to fix. It's like, who am I? Because now, if I focus so hard on being who I am, the other people who have all of the pieces that I don't have, that I am not good at, that I don't like, that are not for me, they will show up. And then you work in community together to get the shit done. That is how we are designed to be communal animals, communal beings. I can't even say animals, because we are so not animals at all. We're so completely different. If we had some, my gosh, if we could have the instincts, if we could just tune into the instincts in us. But so it's, and I share your frustration a lot. And also, the more I experience humans, and the more, like, I'm on the board of education now, the more I look at our education system, how we understand education is that is telling somebody how to do something else. And if other people can do what you did, then you're successful and you're good at what you do. But it's all about, this is my way and this is what I'm going to teach you. So I think it's just such a foreign and abstract concept to just hold space and let people figure themselves out, that it almost feels like failure, or almost 100%. Feels like you're not doing enough, right? Like, we're running the first cohort of this group right now. And I, on a daily basis, tell myself, it's okay. It's okay if there are not 10,000 chats in Telegram every single day. Because I've been in a Telegram chat where there were 10,000 chats every day, and 999 of them were not heartfelt, were not true, were not like really like opening up anything, and they meant nothing. So if there's only 4 chats in this group a week, but in this group, we are like really talking about the things, like what it feels to work in healthcare and what it feels like to parent our children and what we're honestly trying to do differently, then those 4 chats are what is supposed to happen. And people get to experiment at their own pace. And I don't get to decide. There may be people who are in here reading everything and listening to every voice note and never never saying anything of their own. And that's totally cool. They're just absorbing this group. They're not ready to do the next step or whatever. Or maybe they are and they just don't want to talk about it. That's their process. I don't get to decide that for anybody else. However, I have lived philosophy. I've learned this philosophy. We talk about this all the time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I know it and I believe it. And I still am like, oh my God, I'm doing something wrong. I'm not doing enough. They're not going to think I'm enough. They're not going to think this is valuable. They're not going to think I gave them enough. And so it's this constant, like drilling it into my brain. Like, no, it's okay.
Yeah.
People can lead themselves, and if I keep believing in that, then they will. And it's the other part of it is all for my ego. You know what 100%. I mean? When I feel how hard it is for me, and then I would imagine that it's not even like on the radar of most people who are considering education from a very traditional sense, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's so many delicious things in my head while you were talking. I'm like, preach, because I think that, my experience, we had a very similar and unique experience together, and that was it. That was the thing, is that the space we were in was not about nurturing and unlocking what was unique about us as individuals. It was about, how do I get these people really fast results, which we all got really fast results. And guess what? We all fucking crashed halfway through because it wasn't sustainable and it wasn't in alignment with how we are supposed to be creating our own unique way of being, our own relationships, our own business. And so the cookie cutter stuff does work, but it is not sustainable. And that is why I think the coaching industry sometimes gets this bad rap, is because there's these really high ticket offers and you do get results, but they often aren't sustainable unless you sell your soul and become someone you're not. And I think that that's where my frustration lives, is I want people to understand there's no shame, there's no guilt, there's no good, there's no bad. There's just you, however the fuck you are. If you can learn to love yourself as you are and get curious about your own journey, about how you want to live, that's the fucking gold. That's where law of attraction starts to work. that's where the quote unquote buzzword manifestation starts to work, because instead of doing what I'm telling you to do, I'm just simply unlocking what you already know to be true for yourself. I'm validating that you're worthy of making that choice. And then I'm like, okay, that's where you want to go. Cool. Let's reverse engineer it together. And let's find the small steps that you can get there with. Like, what does that look like for you?
Mm-hmm. And because there's so much about humans that is just simply not understood. But because of that, there's so many factors that play into all of these relationships and all of these coaching dynamics and learning dynamics, like human design. Your human design has a huge impact on how all of this works for you. Manifestors can legitimately just say it out loud and it will happen. That's great for them.
Fucking love that for them.
Fucking love that for them. Generators, Manny-gens, y'all can do shit all day long.
So dumb.
I just learned this lesson for the 568th time, and I'm sure there will be a 569th. I started doing things. I wanted to make progress, so I started volunteering for things. This is never good if you're a projector. Never good. Because I'm not waiting to be recognized. Not really confident enough to ask somebody to pay me, so I'll go offer myself for free, and then people will have to take me because I am so worthless. So this is what I did. Filled my schedule up with shit. All of those things are falling away now in a variety of ways. Some of them have had to smack me upside the head because I've been clinging way too hard. Others I've been like, this is actually not aligned at all. I can't do things all day. I have, for 2 weeks, figured out what my top priorities were, figured out how many hours a week I wanted to dedicate to them, and set myself a goal of 3 hours a day of actual focused, quote unquote, work. With the hours I wanted, I had to bump it up to 3.5. I have gotten more done in 3.5 hours a day in the past 2 weeks than I have gotten done since April.
I love that about you.
And I've known this, like it's written all over even knowing human design, right? But if I tried to exist how you exist in the world, I would literally die. I maybe not. Would, I would be very, very sick all the time. And I would be so grumpy, so miserable. I did it. I was a rehab manager. I worked 80 hours a week at one point in time. Like, what the hell? No wonder I had anxiety and depression. Like, what? So human design is a huge piece of it. And I really, really, I have yet to find something about human design that does not feel like the whole truth to me.
Right.
People can interpret human design in very bizarre ways. However, the actual human design from Uruhu himself feels like the truth to me. And at least at the basic, knowing your energy. So for example, this group we were in last year, also for me, I'm a projector. I'm not just a projector, I'm a self-projected projector. So I have 2 defined centers, which are barely defined. I've got a couple gates. And the rest of me is wide open. This makes me so good at being a doula because I literally am inside the being that I am interacting with. I can only do one at a time. I am single focus, but I feel and know your truth. So I can ask questions to help you understand the truth that I see about you.
Yeah.
And so to help someone, walk with someone, witness someone as they go through a transition and just say I see you and holy shit, this is impressive right now. And that is the perfect role for me.
Yeah. Agreed.
In a mastermind, I my full-time job was that Telegram group. Because I'm not kidding you. The months of my life where that was all I could do. And I don't even know how I did it then. I had to keep up, it was constant. And there's like 12 people's energy in one Telegram chat. So I'm like just going, Dee hates this analogy, but I say I'm like a pretzel rod and being dipped in chocolate.
Yeah.
And so I'm like literally like 500 feet wide because I've been dipped in so much chocolate by the end of one day in the mastermind.
Yeah.
Like just coated in other people's shit. So of course I'm creating programs at like every 5 minutes. You know how many programs I created last year that I never even launched? And I was like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I follow through? Why don't I blah, blah, blah? Because I don't believe in this shit. It's someone else's idea that has nothing to do with me and I have no business bringing into the world.
Yeah.
If I had gone on stage, like we were all wanting me to go, and said the shit that I had to say last year, I would have been so pissed off at every word that came out of my mouth right now today. Like, I do not at all align with the things that I was preaching last year. Is some of it? Yes. Parts of it? Sure. But my understanding of it is completely different. Like, it was not embodied. I might have been regurgitating the words, but I had no understanding. I had no business talking about any of it.
Yeah. Because it wasn't yours to carry forth.
Right.
And I think this is where the like misconstrued buzzword of manifestation comes through, because it's like, we're not all meant to like be coaches and be leaders, and we're not all meant to like have kids and be in like, you know, cookie cutter, like Leave It to Beaver type homes. Like, we're not all meant to be doing the same thing, but like we live in a society that like keeps telling us that like quote unquote success is being a multimillionaire, being able to fly a private jet, having your luxury designer bags, like dressing like, you know, the Kardashians. Like that is what is being smacked in the face every time you're on social media or you're out in the world or you're watching movies. Like, it's like more stuff. But the reality is like, that's not all meant for us, which is why manifestation doesn't work for everyone, because you are not manifesting what is true for you. And so I think we have to stop and we have to get to know ourselves. We have to unlock ourselves. And this is what it was for me. When I got out of that mastermind, I had so much fucking healing to do because I was so angry. And it took me a solid 6 months to really go through that. And you walked with me on a lot of that. You helped me be like, girl, your shoulder is fucking hurting so bad because you're super fucking pissed and you keep trying. Like, I kept being like, but I don't want to be angry. Like, I remember like yelling at you being like, I don't want to be angry. I don't want to feel this way. And you were like, I get that, but you can't bypass it. You have to be where you're at and feel the thing so that you can come through the other side. And it's like, I came through the other side and then I started to really be like, well, who the fuck is Karissa? And what is it that she actually wants? And it was like, oh, I actually don't really like need to make millions of dollars and I don't need to charge these astronomical fees to my clients. I actually like have a really fucking solid life. And my other businesses are solid. I just actually really want to have impact and help people. And so actually this is the price point that feels good. And like the moment I knew myself and gave myself permission to run my business differently without doing like the master classes and like the funnel and all the bullshit that shit never worked for me. The moment I did that, it was like these soul aligned clients started to come. And I started to really do meaningful work in a sustainable, ethical way. And because I finally tapped into my zone of genius, it started to be easier. Like, that's when I was like, oh, this is manifestation. This is law of attraction because it's my path and it's based on me giving myself permission to be angry for a moment so that I can find myself.
Right. That is such a huge part of, I think, what gets real fucked up in manifestation. And because I fucked it up, I know this. It's like wanting to not feel a quote unquote bad way, because if you feel a good way, then you're in the right energy.
Yeah. Good and bad. We're back to the good and bad.
Right. And this like works really, really well on women in America, because being good is what we are sold, is the top, you know what I mean? Like premier. I was having a whole moment when you were talking earlier about about millionaires and like everybody wanting, like thinking they want the same thing. And what came into my mind as you said it was like the American dream.
Yeah.
But that like we talk about that as like a thing, but that's literally what's been sold, is one dream for everybody. And that means all of our energy that's ours is focused on one dream that was created by someone else that was not us. And we are chasing that dream. And because all of us are doing it together, it still exists. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I want nothing to do with the American dream. Like, the more and more I look back, like, this is, you and I were talking about this before we started recording. This is why I love reflection. The more I look back on the coach I was, the human I was, it's fucking embarrassing, because it's so not who I want to be. And it doesn't feel good, because it's not freedom for me. It's not success for me. You know, it's embarrassing. And it's such a like catch-22, I think, to be able to have the audacity to say that on a recording that I'm going to put out into the ethers, because I want people to understand that like evolution is a very real thing, but it's because you're curious enough about how to live better, how to be better, how to feel better. And the more you are willing to look at the guideposts of your emotional well-being and your physical well-being and your mental well-being, the more you can actually tune into who the fuck you are.
That's exactly it.
All right, you guys, if you're listening to this, then you are probably wondering what the fuck just happened. Mia and I's conversation was too beautiful for me to cut it off. So what I've decided to do was find the best stopping point I can and bring you a 2-part conversation. So please be sure to tune in next week as we complete this radical conversation around manifestation. You will not want to miss part 2, because Mia guides us through a beautiful meditation. You know, here at Critical Conversations, I'm doing all my own stunts, and sometimes that means we're just like making it up as we go. So this is the first time where I'm doing this. Fingers crossed it works. I thank you guys for being part of the journey. And as always, the reminder is our podcast episodes release every Thursday. So make sure you tune in next week to hear the second half of our conversation. Thanks for being here, y'all.